Welcome back. With me now is Democratic lawmaker from California, Congressman Ted Lieu. He is the vice chair of the House Democratic Caucus. And I know you flipped your schedule around to be with us, to be able to give us your insights. So thank you for that to start off. What was your reaction when you saw the video and heard what happened to Senator Padilla at that news conference with Secretary Noem?
Thank you, Kelly, for your question. House Democrats have been standing up and fighting back against the lawless actions of ICE in detaining U.S. citizens, deporting children, some of whom are U.S. citizens, and stripping asylum seekers who are here legally seeking asylum of their rights. And now they escalated by forcibly taking down Senator Padilla. Why? Because he dared to ask questions of Secretary Noem. Why is Secretary Noem afraid to answer questions?
Let me give you a little bit of the response from a spokesperson for Secretary Noem about this episode. And the statement goes like this. It says, Senator Padilla chose disrespectful political theater and interrupted a live press conference without identifying himself or having his Senate security pin on his lapel as he lunged toward Secretary Noem. Mr. Padilla was told repeatedly to back away, and he did not comply with officers' repeated commands. The Secret Service thought he was an attacker, and officers acted appropriately. So what is your response to this? We all saw it play out. He was not in the suit and tie we would see around Capitol Hill. I did not see the pin, which you have the pin on your lapel there. There's a different one for senators. But he did say, I'm Senator Padilla. What is your reaction to how they've characterized it?
DHS spokesperson is lying. And that should not be surprising because the Trump administration lies all the time. This incident happened in the federal building in my district. To get into that federal building, there's immense security, and you go through all sorts of security checks. So people who are in that room have already been checked by security. And as you noted, Senator Padilla identified himself. And if the American people are watching this and are upset, I urge you to righteously exercise your right to peacefully protest, righteously exercise your right to monitor ICE agents who are hiding behind masks, and righteously exercise your right to freedom of speech and freedom to assemble. That's how we take our country back.
We understand that Senator Padilla and Secretary Noem did have an opportunity to speak behind the scenes. I haven't heard exactly what that conversation's been about. Do you hold her responsible, or do you think these officers were sort of engaged, and once they began to detain someone, they just kept going? You know, we don't really know what was in their minds and if they recognize Senator Padilla, even though he is the senior senator from California. We don't know if they are from California. What is your sense of who should be accountable for this moment?
I hold Donald Trump and the Republicans that enable him directly responsible for creating a culture of fear, for separating children from their parents, for making America not America anymore because of the lawless actions they've engaged in. And I want to note that the American people rising up and peacefully protesting is working. Today, Donald Trump posted on social media that he's reversing part of his mass deportation policies against the agriculture industry as well as the leisure and hospitality industry. And so what the American people are doing and standing up and making our voices heard is working. Donald Trump is backtracking. Trump, again, is chickening out.
I want to read a little bit of what Secretary Noem was saying at the time that this incident happened. She had been speaking for a few moments, and she said that we're here, staying behind here to liberate this city from the socialist and the burdensome leadership that this governor and that this mayor, referring to Newsom and Bass, have placed on this country and try to insert into that city. So when she uses the word liberate, and these are, of course, democratically elected officials in one of the largest states we have. She uses the word liberate. How did that strike you? Do you think that might have prompted Senator Padilla to interrupt?
Secretary Noem is living in a fantasy world. California, under the leadership of Gavin Newsom and mayors like Mayor Bass, we are now the fourth largest economy in the world. And what we see in California is a thriving economy. And we have lots of people from all different places in the world making the state a great state. And Secretary Noem couldn't deal with answering questions with Secretary Padilla, and DHS forcibly assaulted him and took him down. That's completely unacceptable.
Before I let you go, I realize you're in D.C., you're not on the ground in California to assess what's happening right this minute, but what are you hearing from your district office about how you would characterize the protests that are happening now? We're several days into it.
The people who are protesting peacefully are doing what they can under the U.S. Constitution. They're absolutely allowed to do that. Looting, burning cars, destroying property are crimes, and if you engage in that, you will be prosecuted. And I want to note, all these peaceful protests in L.A. and across the country are working. Donald Trump, based on a new Associated Press poll today, is at 60% disapproval. What Donald Trump is doing is not popular, and make sure that people go out and peacefully protest. That is how we take our country back.
Do you think the curfew has helped to turn the temperature down at all?
Yes, and I want to know, this curfew is for a 1 square mile area, because most of LA, the people are protesting peacefully, and I commend Mayor Bass for what she's doing in this 1 square mile area to make it better.
And LA is a very sprawling city and county, we know that. Over the next several days, there are other protests around the country that are being planned, and certainly the incident with Senator Padilla may prompt others to want to use their voices. What concerns, if any, do you have about how this could continue in other cities, and might there be a loss of control?
I encourage people to exercise their First Amendment rights and their freedom to assemble, and I just want to say it is working. Donald Trump reversed part of his mass deportation policies because they're unpopular, because American people started rising up peacefully. And I just want the American people to understand that your actions and making your voices heard is having an effect, and keep righteously doing what the U.S. Constitution grants you the right to do.
And Congressman, we talked about that change from the president in an earlier segment before you were on, and we seemed to get mixed messages. The president clearly said changes are coming. He acknowledged the hotel, hospitality, and farm community businesses that have been affected. Actually said there's some very good people who are working, those I'm paraphrasing, who are working and have been disrupted by this. But also the White House is saying that they're going to step up action. So we'll have to see how much this kind of backtrack, if we can call it that, from the president, how that will play out. But clearly you want to highlight that.
Well, obviously the White House has to listen to Donald Trump, and he said very clearly today that he's reversing part of his deportation policy. And I think he's seeing not only the American people rising up, but actually the harm to our economy. Inflation has increased, jobless claims have increased, food prices have increased 0.3% at the grocery store. And so Donald Trump understands his policies were also harming our economy.
Sir, you're what we call an emergency booking. You responded when we called when there was an incident, and I thank you for that, for making time out of your busy day. We appreciate, especially from your vantage point in California. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Kelly.